We now start off with reports from the World Bank, which has announced that the Federal Capital Territory Administration will receive the sum of 1.1 billion naira out of the sum of $117 million budgeted for the COVID-19 project by the World Bank Group and its development partners. According to the World Bank consultant and coordinator of the Nigeria COVID-19 Action Recovery Economic Stimulus Program, Professor Okumadewa Oni, the fund is meant to help the FCTA to recover from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Mr. Oni also further discloses that the DLI project will be implemented in 3 result-based areas, which include increased social transfers, provision of social services, and livelihood support to the poor and vulnerable households. And now, talking aviation-related matters, the International Air Transport Association, IATA, says the total foreign airlines funds trapped in Nigeria has now nearly doubled from $147 million, which is an equivalent of 61 billion naira in August, to $283 million, which is about 117.6 billion naira as of December last year. IATA's Director General Willie Walsh also made this known and says that the blockade of airline revenues contravenes international conventions and could slow the recovery of travel and tourism in affected markets as the airline industry struggles to recover from the COVID-19 crisis. The federal government, under President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, had in 2018 cleared $600 million blocked funds, but the figure began to grow again due to the shortage of forex in the country, which had lamented the blockade. The money accumulated from the sale of tickets by about 30% of airlines flying into the country is also part of the sum. Now, the number of telecommunications subscribers in Nigeria grew by 2.03 million in January this year, and that's according to the latest report from the Nigerian Communications Commission. The data shows that the country recorded 195,128,265 telecom subscribers in December last year, advancing from the 197,152,773 as of January the 31st this year. The data further reveals that the number of internet subscribers also grew by 1.58 million from the 141.6 million which was recorded in December last year to 143.2 million as at January this year. The recent growth in the sector has been attributed as a result of the extension of the deadlines of the National Identification Number Subscriber Identity Module Data Verification exercise. And now, away from telecommunication, the forensic and investigative professionals in Nigeria are worried about the impact of corrupt practices on economic growth and want the technique applied towards fighting graft. They also seek urgent presidential assent to the Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Professionals Bill, and Lara Falaya was there to cover this report.
These forensic investigation experts are concerned about the state of the Nigerian economy despite its abundant resources. They blame the situation on corrupt practices which they feel can be addressed through forensic investigation. They say this is in line with global practices and want the authorities to be receptive and open to emerging trends, not just in fighting corruption, but cybercrime as well.
Our governments over the years have introduced either through legislations and or policies with the sole intention of addressing the ravaging effects of the monstrous corrupt practices in the country has led to the establishment some statutory bodies, but without prejudice to the activities of some of these bodies. Fraud, corruption and cyber crimes are still in the increase in the country.
The professionals also want the president to give assent to the Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Professionals Bill. They believe this will assist the country in its graft control efforts in line with government's policy thrust.
Any proposal and proposed legislation in this regard should be painstakingly considered based on its merit, devoid of sentiments, parochial or self-serving interests of certain persons or group of persons who are out to frustrate any laudable steps that will reduce to the barest minimum corrupt practices and other related crimes in the country.
The experts feel cyber-related offences are assuming a more sophisticated dimension and conventional mechanisms are no more as effective in tackling them. Hence the need for the use of improved forensic strategies. The forensic investigators see the need for Nigeria to have an institutionalized forensic investigation framework that will help the country in its fight against corruption and promote economic growth. Lara Folayo, TVC News, Abuja.
And our shift in focus to the international front. Asian shares fell today while the sell-off in the United States Treasuries paused and oil prices rose as investors and traders weighed the latest development in the Ukraine war and more hawkish comments from the United States Federal Reserve officials. MSCI's broadest index of Asia Pacific shares outside Japan dropped 0.6%, and Japan's Nikkei also fell by more than 1% this morning after touching a 2-month high in the previous session. China's market opened lower, with Hong Kong Hang Seng Index down 0.9% and the mainland's blue chip, the CSI 300 Index, off 0.7%. Shares of Tencent Holdings dropped 4.6% after it posted its lowest ever sales rise. Now, US President Joe Biden arrived in Brussels for a series of summit meetings on the Ukraine war, with President Biden also set to announce a U.S. package of Russia-related sanctions on the political figures and oligarchs today. The bond market, meanwhile, paused for breath, with the yield on benchmark 10-year Treasury notes last at 2.3% in Tokyo trading after retreating from nearly a 3-year peak of 2.41% overnight. And wrapping up business news now, oil prices on the international market today declined initially in volatile trading today as investors assess the potential for new supply in the tight markets amid prospects of a new Iran deal. US West Texas Intermediate crude recorded a price increase of 0.08% to hit $115 per barrel. Brent crude now sells at $122.30 per barrel, registering an upward price margin of 0.53%. Bonilite's performance is back in the green territory, recording a surge in price of 5.23% to sell at $121.60 per barrel. And for the OPEC basket, crude oil dealers offer $114.60 per barrel, with an uptick of 0.67%.